Hey guys, this is Gary Lee Stanley, your sales guy. Hey, today we're going to talk about my favorite subject, which is sales. All right, we got a cool subject for ourselves today, so let's go ahead and dive right on into it. But before I do, let me give you a little fist bump and say howdy. Our subject for today is selling. How to keep cool when objections come. What did he say? I said selling. How to keep cool when objections come. Hey man, I'm wearing these shades, but I'm going to tell you, Mark, this is a pretty good little subject. So let's go dive right on into it. You know, one of the things that I've learned in my selling career is that I'm going to have objections. I'm going to have people say no. I'm going to have people who just may be real rude. But I'm also going to have customers who really want to invest in something, but I haven't hit their little hot button yet. I haven't pushed that little envelope in their direction for them to go, dang, man, this sounds real good. I think I wouldn't mind having it. I hope this salesperson knows how to sell. And see, here's the key to success when you're out there selling. You got to keep your cool, man. You got to really keep your cool. Act as though you've been there. Even if you may just be starting in sales or selling a new product, you know, people are going to throw up those objections. And see, a lot of times if they throw up objections, sometimes they listening to you. Not always, but a majority of the times when they throw up objections, that means, hey, listen, they have not been able to be shown why they're going to give that big amount of money for that little bit of product. But if you can give them a lot more benefits and features and you can break it down for them and you can overcome their objections, you got more chances of selling. And remember, it's a numbers game. A lot of times objections sometimes can be smoke screens. Well, I got to ask my significant other or my wife, the next door neighbor, how great this, I mean, people throw up all kinds of objections. But see, here's the thing. If you got a customer captivated and they've been talking to you for a few minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, they're interested. But you see, what happens is they'll throw up some objections, and don't bypass those objections. You know, if that's important to the customer and they brought them up, if you can answer the objection, go ahead and answer the objections. Because see, what it does is it gives you credibility. And sometimes they'll give you some objections of some things you don't even know the answer to. So don't act like you do and say, listen, that's a very important question. You know, let me go ahead and jot that down. That's a good sales ploy there too, because see, they're starting to see you write down stuff. And so when you go to ask for the order, it ain't such a big deal when you start filling out paperwork. But the key to this regard is to write it down and look at them and say, hey, listen, if you're in a retail environment, get you a TO, somebody who can answer that questions, because sometimes if they get that question answered, they can go ahead and buy. But if you're out there selling door to door, or if you're doing stuff over the phone and stuff, sometimes in business to business, you don't have a TO person. What is a TO person? Somebody you can help that can just start telling them exactly the same stuff that you told them, but break it down, and it puts you out of the situation and let them close the sale. Team opportunity, it works. I promise you. I did retail for years, and I used to go in and help salespeople close deals all the time, and the same thing came back to me, because not every customer is going to gel with you. But you know, my name is Gary Lee Stanley, your sales guy. I told you I'd tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the warts and all, and stuff that folks don't talk about. And our subject for today is selling. How to keep cool when objections come. Listen, don't look at objections as bad things, because see, here's the thing. You're having a selling conversation. Did you hear what I said? You're having a conversation. You're in front of somebody. You've got somebody listening to you. You've got somebody who's asking questions. And if they're asking questions, they're more able to be closed, because see, you can use those objections that you overcome to be able to say, well, you know, you said you asked about this particular thing, and yes, we can go ahead and do that, and we can do this, and it does this for you, and that was your objection. So, you know, and you use that as also a ploy to close sales. See, a lot of times people think objections, oh man, they're giving me some objections, I don't know what I'm going to do. And see, you start sweating, you get all frustrated, and then you get all mean. And see, they can feel our vibe. Customers feel our vibe. They know what's going on. They know they got up into our head. And if we act in a particular way that seems kind of frustrated or rude or mean or mad, you done lost the sale. But what you do is you stay cool, baby. You just stay cool and say, look, that's a great question. You know, the reason why you need to go ahead and invest in this is because of this, 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 and this. And let me tell you the benefits behind that. Well, and then they'll throw up an objection. Well, I don't know if I can afford it. Well, you know what? What if we could do this for you? You know, I know money is important and we got to make sure things work in our budget. Why don't we just go ahead and set it up for the next billing cycle so that way you can go ahead and get the benefits and just go ahead and budget for you. Doesn't that sound good? And shake your head and they'll go, yeah, I think okay. And if they throw up some objections about color, preference, maybe things, services, or maybe they've heard some things. Well, I heard y'all had this bad service. And stuff. You know, sometimes people are going to complain. I'm just going to be honest with you. But the majority of our customers love our service. They love our company. They love us. But you're always going to have those particular people that unfortunately we can't satisfy. And see, what you've done is you've overcome that objection. If it's got to do with something being set up, you know, financially, say, look, you know, I understand finances are really important. And based on our conversation, it sounds like to me you've got your ducks in a row. All we need to do is just go ahead and make sure it fits in your budget. And see, here's the thing. When you're talking about objections, make those objections that they give you valid. Because, see, they wouldn't just be throwing them up for no reason. And sometimes they do, but the majority of the time, that may be the buying thing that needs to be addressed right then and there. I mean, I've had some customers in the past, you know, when I'm selling, like, say, for instance, extended maintenance agreements, warranties and stuff. Are you telling me that your stuff is going to break? And I'll look them right in the eye, and I say, yes, they will. And they go, well, what do you mean? Well, listen, these things that we manufacture are man-made. Anything that man makes eventually is going to break. And here's the thing. We're going to make sure that in a time of need, see, I just overcame their objection. I said at a time of need, we're going to be able to maintain your product. We're going to be able to service your product. And if we can't service it, we're going to replace it. See, what you do is you overcome their objections. You do not deny the objections. And sometimes if you don't know the answers to questions and things in this regard, that's okay. Get your little piece of paper out, write it down and say, hey, listen, this is important. If I don't know the answer, I'll go ahead and get that taken care of. Now, here's the thing. And when you're selling, you got to keep your cool, man. Just act as though you've done this before. It ain't your first rodeo. You got to be there with this confidence, this air of I can do this, and I'm going to make sure that my customers get the best service and the best deal. And see, when you're talking to customers and you got to deal with their objections, you know, selling is a process. When you're first getting into sales, you're going to learn the basics and the fundamentals about your product. You're going to need to go outside of your company and learn and do your research about what you see, what's out there in the market. Because they'll say, oh, XYZ's got it for $100 and you're selling it for $125. Or they'll say, hey, man, I can get a sofa down the street, you know, for $299. Yours is $800. See, they'll throw up these objections and see, if you haven't done your research to see what's out there in the market, they'll walk all over you. And sometimes that's just a ploy to get them out of the buying thing. But see, in their mind, they may see a sofa, for instance. Yours is $800. The one down the street's $299. Golly, that's a whole lot more money. Why should I buy it from you? Y'all trying to rip people off. And then you say, well, hold on a minute. I understand how you feel. You know, a lot of our customers felt that way until I showed them the difference between the $299 and the $800 sofa. Because remember, folks, you're only going to buy one. So if you invest wrong in the first time, you ended up going to have to buy two. You're going to have to spend a lot more money, anguish, frustration. So let me show you the benefits of buying this particular sofa that costs a little bit more. And listen, you break it down. You take the sofa apart. You show them what's inside of it. You talk about the springs. You talk about the tufts. You talk about the backing. You talk about the materials. You have them sit down in it and say, listen, have you ever invested in something that you thought was a good deal and then it wasn't such a good deal? And they're going to go, yeah, I have. Everybody has. So listen, my whole goal today is not to sell you something that you're not going to be able to enjoy. I want you to have something that you're going to be able to enjoy for a long time. Does that make sense? And you got to ask them, does that make sense? And you got to keep, you see, listen, when you overcome objections, you got to ask them, do you have any other questions that may be of concern to you? Now, I don't call them objections, I call them concerns. Well, I don't know. There's this thing about, delivery. You guys are going to be able to come out on Mondays or Tuesdays to do your service. See, they'll give you some more concerns if they have them. But if you've done your thorough job, you've given the features, benefits, and you told them about what's in it for them, and you can see it fits in their budget, it's not such a big deal. Because, see, objections, like I said, are buying signals. Did you hear me? Objections can be big-time buying the signals. They can tell you, say, hey, this is what's interest to this customer. So if you can overcome that objection and you can share with them the situation and how to deal with the situation, you're going to make a sale, man. Objections don't mean you won't get the sale. Now, it's a numbers game. Now, you're going to have some times where you may be able to overcome those objections, but then they come up with another one. And then reality it is, not everybody's meant to buy our products. We just have to take that and just deal with it. And it's just the reality in sales. My name is Gary Lee Stanley. I told you I'd tell you some stuff that would make you go, oh, okay. I try to be a little bit funny in my videos, but I'm very serious when it comes to my subjects. Selling, how to keep cool when objections come. Listen, I guess it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of yourself being, one of these kind of people that just lets things go through. Sometimes people can be real jerks, and then sometimes they can be real nice. And sometimes people are just what they people. And you have to just remember that when you get these objections, just act as though you've already been there. I've had people throw up red flags and tell me they can't do this or something and didn't do that. I heard about this or that. And I just say, okay, yeah, okay. And you're listening to them. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Sometimes it's better to listen and keep your mouth shut, because, see, a lot of times they'll go ahead and talk themselves right into buying stuff. I've seen them do it. I've seen customers with their husbands and wives says, we can't afford it, we can't get this, and then they'll start, and I've gone over the features and benefits, and then they'll start asking me questions, and then I'm like, they'll be talking to each other, and then I'll say, well, I guess you've made up your mind, and they'll go, yeah, okay, we'll go ahead and take it. And in this regard, objections are our friends. They're not our enemies. And see, here's the thing. If you keep getting the same similar type of objections, write that stuff down. Go talk to your mentors, talk to your management, and talk to other salespeople who are very good at their jobs and ask them, well, how do you overcome this particular objection? How do you have a conversation when they ask you these questions and that you don't know? And do your research. Like I said, if you get a bunch of different types of objections and you're not closing the sales, write those objections down. I'll do it all the time. So if there's something new that I don't know, I write it down so I can go back and practice. And remember what I said, practice. You got to go back and practice your presentation when you get objections that you're not real familiar with. So that way when it pops up, because they will, go ahead and have that strength and character to be real cool, daddy. I'm talking about being real cool. And when you're real cool, man, people will buy stuff from you. Because, see, they want to deal with people who are awesome. They want to deal with people who are got it going on, baby. They ain't afraid. We got to be cool, baby. I'm just kidding. But in reality, selling, how to keep cool when objections come. The key to success is to practice your presentation, get better and better. The more times you do your presentation, it gets easier. And a lot of times you're going to run into the same objections. People have the same objections all the time, especially when you're out there selling. And once you're able to have that selling conversation, if you learn how to overcome those objections, when it comes up, you'll say, ding, 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 ding. These people are wanting to buy. Now I just got to make them feel comfortable, share the answers that they're looking for, and overcome their objections. My name is Gary Lee Stanley, your sales guy. We just had a really good conversation about selling, how to keep cool when objections come. It makes common sense, guys. Just do your due diligence to answer their questions. If you can't answer it, write it down and say, hey, listen, this is important. We'll get back with you. And then you keep selling. Sell through the objections. A lot of times they'll even forget that they even had that objection. And here's the thing. Sometimes it's a smoke screen. But if you can overcome the objections, Sometimes you need to go ahead and do it. And if it's real serious for the customer, get a TO, get somebody on board. You can pick up the phone. You can do FaceTime on the phone, and you can talk to the customer and get their answer right there over the phone. And I'm going to tell you what, that's a good tool. Because, see, that way they can't say, well, you couldn't get the answer. You didn't know what you were talking about. You couldn't overcome my objections. So do yourself a favor. Go out there and sell something. But if you ain't asking for the order, you ain't selling. Selling how to keep cool when objections come. Right on, baby. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to be cool. I'm going to overcome objections. And it's a numbers game, baby. We're going to have to sell something. So go out there and sell something. Be real, real cool. Yeah. Go out there and be cool and overcome those objections. All right.